So I'm making this video at work in the middle of the night, looking like absolute trash, and I actually took measures to reduce the amount of trash that I looked like before hitting the record button. You're welcome, maybe, I guess. It's been a long ass time since I made a video about my transition process. As you can tell, it looks probably like it all but halted, because it more or less did for a good while. For example, I started taking testosterone the end of May in 2020, which is over 3 years ago at this point. And I, in total, in the last 3 years, spent a whopping maybe whole 10 months on testosterone, and the first like 6 to 7 of those months were like micro dosing using topical gel, so about as micro dosing as you can get. The last 3 months of that 10 months, which was not consecutive at all, but the last 3 months on testosterone were actually using subcutaneous, 60 milligrams a week. Testosterone cypionate, the, I guess, oil-based. Yeah, I have had a lot of roadblocks, some of which were by none other than myself. I caused my own roadblocks. I wanted to start microdosing. I'm the one that made the choice to microdose. I was thinking I was more trans X or trans mask than trans man. And I don't regret it. Microdosing was a good, I like to make permanent changes slowly. Generally speaking, there are some things I don't even think about before I do them, and those things have sometimes gone off without a hitch, and other times I wish I had taken more time with it. So I wanted to take time with this, knowing that it was going to be something that would make permanent changes to my existence or my experience. And I was like back and forth with being 1,000% sold and wanting to hurry up and get to the end, or get to the point when those changes, those permanent changes, had already occurred, and then having days where I just really wanted to be a girly girl and not as excited about having those changes or whatever little changes had already begun. So, you know, like if I could re-sleeve or something, like a certain famous TV show, well, I guess not that famous, but either way, it was a good show. If I could just like pick a day and re-sleeve into the body I wanted, whether it was more masculine or more feminine, that'd be like ideal, because there are days I want to be really, really feminine, and then there are other days where I'm like, why am I not in a dude's body like now? Either way, I spent a good while, I guess I'll get into detail after I make some notes for myself, so I don't talk in a circle, about what the last 3 years has looked like, why I have had periods of starting and stopping. Some of those roadblocks have been not having the capability financially to continue getting my treatment, or having an office repeatedly drop the ball about making sure my prescription was ready when I would need it, especially since, you know, labs were required to continue care, and, you know, okay, we won't worry about labs till another 3 or 4 months from now, but then, oops, we only gave you 1 fill of your prescription and there's no refills on it, and when you run out in a month and you go back to try to get a refill, it's going to be impossible to get a refill unless we see you again. The labs were just done, and okay, well, we'll talk to the nurse about sending the prescription. And meanwhile, I'm half dosing and skip dosing, and then half dosing and skip dosing until my period made its resurgence, and ending up with wildly shifting hormones because I can't consistently get a hold of my prescription. And the decision to, at that point, this is like back in 2020, at that point, deciding to just desist from taking testosterone, purely because if I can't consistently be on testosterone since I'm still intact, I may as well just be consistently what I was born as, to avoid having bigger or worse health problems from wildly shifting hormones from a lack of proper HRT care. Then finally getting to a financial point when I could resume it once I was in an area where, or dealing with a prescriber who was going to be consistent. Finances were a problem. I had just moved several states, and finances, liquid assets were not very high. Well, here I am now. Let's see, about 18 months since that move, and a little more financially stable, and tired of not working toward my gender identity goals, which, again, being forced into a pause did give me time to consider what it is I really wanted and what my result that I was hoping for would be. That's not by any means condoning the government or prescribers to make it difficult for a patient who has come to you and said they want to do something to get their prescription in hopes that they'll give up and yield to the ideals of certainly traditionalists or specific religious groups' ideas about what is moral or just or correct. Try not to get off on too many tangents. This is all to say, I am currently heading into my 4th week. I haven't done my 4th week shot, but I resumed my testosterone 3 weeks ago, resuming the subcutaneous 60 milligrams a week shots. And I think I'm going to give it a month or 2 of just doing that. And I've been reading that more frequent dosing at lower doses are actually better just in general for your health and in general for your results, in general for your mood, which is part of the reason I went with the gel, not just because of microdosing, but because I wanted consistent testosterone levels so that I wouldn't have mood shifts that would lead me into either anxiety or depression or irritability, since that's something I already have an issue with without the aid of an extra, not internal, external, whatever, words. Yeah, so I'm going to give it a month of doing the once a week, maybe 2 months of doing the once a week at 60 milligrams or 0.3 milliliters. And I might shift to twice a week. So like maybe Monday and then Thursday, or Monday and then Wednesday, doing 0.15 or 30 milligrams per half week, just to try to keep an even balance. It's better for absorption, probably. It's also better for keeping your levels steady, which is what I want. I wanted to make this video because it's been a while since I've made one on it. And not that I think anybody's necessarily watching this journey or cares about this journey, except perhaps me or people who care about me, whoever that may be. But mostly because I like to document things in a way that I can later go back and remind myself, because my memory isn't exactly the greatest. That, and I wanted to make a video at the preempt of restarting, just to sort of document where I'm at, so that I can compare it to where I'll be maybe a month from now or 6 months from now. Also, there aren't a terrible lot of people that I've been able to find. Of course, Google and YouTube haven't been very friendly with my searches. I get highly inaccurate results constantly, but I haven't had a lot of luck finding, people transitioning in their mid to late 30s. There's a lot of 20-somethings, a lot of teens, but finding someone to just sort of, at my age group, talking about this without all of the spectacle or frills, just this is what's going on, this is how it is. It's hard. I've had a lot of luck. I haven't had very good luck with finding things like that. Not to say that I'm looking for a very clinical result or clinical videos, but it's hard to find very straightforward, more or less clinical discussion about somebody's changes. A lot of it is all personality and not very clinical. I said clinical a lot. Either way, this is the range of my voice. I wanted to try to log what I sound like. This is what I sound like when I speak higher or when I'm trying to sound more feminine. And this is what I sound like when I'm relaxed. And this is what I sound like when I'm trying to sound like a guy. I don't usually do that. I usually just talk. I don't have a lot of dysmorphia, I guess, about my voice, except I hate what I sound like when I hear what I sound like on video. I am not against the idea of having a deeper voice. I frankly kind of like the idea of having a deeper voice. It's kind of weird because I've noticed that a lot of what I would like to look and be more like are also the things that I find attractive. So sort of the idea of, emulation is the highest form of compliment, where the goals I would like to reach, I am finding are more or less synonymous with what I find attractive in the currently opposite sex. And I'll get into the opposite sex thing at some point, but like, I would consider myself trans masc, trans X, maybe not necessarily trans man, because there's still a lot of the feminine that I would like to maybe not necessarily retain, but be able to continue to emulate even after making myself more masculine. But being a trans man or trans masc, frankly, for me, I don't see that as actually changing your gender. You are a trans fill in the blank. You are not the fill in the blank. You are a trans that. You've literally jumped the fence. You've transplanted yourself from one side to the other, but it doesn't actually make you the gender which you are trying to emulate. It makes you a very good facsimile. It would make me a very good facsimile, but it doesn't actually change your gender. And I kind of sit on the side of science kind of with that idea. Even being someone who would like to be more masculine, like I would like to be able to regularly pass as male. I would prefer to pass as male than female. So like if I was more masculine looking and I decided that one day I wanted to be more feminine, dress more feminine, to have someone mistake me as a guy dressing as a girl is preferable to me than have someone mistake me as a girl dressing as a guy, if that makes sense. I hate how many times I say I am very aware that I'm saying a lot, and I'm probably not going to bother to edit this because I don't really bother to edit any of the videos I seem to post. Hopefully they're not painful to watch. You can do what I do. If it's painful to watch and you want to hear what I have to say, just put it in 2 times speed and you'll get to hear everything I have to say, and the video will be a quarter of the duration. Let's see. As far as resuming testosterone and being on it now 3 weeks since resuming it, so effectively it's sort of like restarting and being freshly 3 weeks, except that all my bottom growth was still there. And I'll probably make another video about specifically the changes, but this was just a log to say, hey, I've restarted, and I'll be making videos again if anyone gives a shit. Yeah. I will be giving myself my 4-week shot tomorrow, actually. Maybe I'll make another video soon to just talk about my own personal experience with body hair or face hair or bottom growth or voice changes. I mean, shortly before I stopped testosterone the very last time, I'd had a sore throat for like over a month. There was like, you know, cracking and everything like that you'd expect, and a little bit of irritation. But I felt like I had a sore throat for like over a month, and I sort of became concerned that I wouldn't be able to tell if there was something else going on. Like they say, you know, throat cancer feels like a sore throat and just cough a lot and blah, 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 and for X amount of time doesn't go away. So I was like, well, if that starts happening, how the hell am I going to know? Because this could just be the testosterone making changes, or I could be having another issue. And so my hypochondria got probably the better of me there. But all that aside, I am going to end this video before it reaches 20 minutes, I promise. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing else that was critical that I wanted to talk about. I am currently still with my husband. We are still good, and he is still supportive. I imagine this is a lot on him, but I think things are going to be good. I'll elaborate more at some point, maybe, on all the very many aspects of making this decision to resume testosterone and living technically below the Mason-Dixon line, and what it means to be a female trans person in the South, or any trans person in the South. Yeah. Not sure what else to say here, and I suck at wrapping things up. Probably part of the tisms, which that is also a thing that has changed since the last time we talked. No, I didn't catch a case of the tisms. I just realized I was always there, and actually now have a diagnosis for it, which hasn't really changed anything except I can go, phew, I was right. So there were things that were going on that aren't normal for the general population that I was dealing with. Okay, good. Not good, not great, not necessarily bad either, but at least I'm not crazy and making this shit up in my head. Well, probably some of it's made up in my head. But anyway, getting off now, and not in a good way.